What is up, everybody? Hey, thanks for checking in on this episode of the Becoming Kings podcast. I'm so stoked to have Dr. Robb Kelly, PhD, with me in the house. Hey, man, how are you?
Good, Johnny. How you doing?
I'm so good. You are a renowned addiction consultant, which I think is such a relevant conversation, especially through COVID, working with so many guys that I know, with so many men taking their lives from addiction and everything else. It breaks my heart. But having gone through my own trauma and hearing your story about alcoholism, I just really appreciate you being here and to have this conversation about this topic, because it's one that I think is truly saving lives. And I don't think there's anything, a greater purpose in life than that.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Tell the listeners, the viewers, a little bit more about your backstory. I could certainly read it here from my piece of paper, but I'd love to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Well, my name is Dr. Robb Kelly. They call me the addiction doctor. I specialize in addiction, alcohol and drugs mainly. Came from a very poor background. You guys would call it a trailer park. We would call it a council estate. Took my first drink at the age of 9 on stage in Liverpool, where the Beatles come from, many years ago. And my alcoholism kind of took off there, though I didn't know it at the time. So went through lots of stuff. Wanted to be a musician. I ended up at Abbey Road, which is the place where the Beatles recorded. And I played with Elton John, Bowie, Queen, all them guys. Put myself through university, went to Oxford. And then it all started to go downhill from there, which we'll get into shortly. But yeah, I went terrible time, ended up homeless, was homeless for 14 months. And then somehow got off the streets and then started this crusade, really, about what alcoholism and addiction really is. You know, an alcoholic is not someone who drinks so much alcohol, that's for sure. So then we got into the brain science of it. Neuroplasticity is what I specialize in, and neuroscience. And then 14 years ago, got a chance to come over to the United States for 2 weeks only. A church had sent me, heard of what I was doing. It was all out the box, but it was working. And the first day I got off the plane at DFW, I knew I was never going to go home again. It was just something here. So yeah, I've been doing that ever since. And almost, I don't know, 6,700 people down the line all got their life back, because we never, especially guys, you know, guys can't talk to anybody. Everyone thinks it's weak to, you know, when I get somebody one-to-one on the internet, on Zoom, it's HIPAA compliant, I can grab their attention from day one, because I've been through all that stuff. I was the bodybuilder who won all the title. I was the boxer and martial arts guys that nobody could mess with. You know, this amazing guy went to homeless and then back again. It's like I've got everything covered. When somebody comes and goes, Dr. Robb, what do you know? What do you know, sat in your big house, driving your fancy car? What do you know about losing your children? And I go, sit down. Let me talk to you about that. Yeah. Like I've been through all this stuff to help people like I do today. So you can go to as many colleges and universities as you want. Unless you've walked through it, you will not realize what I'm going through when I want to kill somebody for a drink of alcohol, or the behavior, self-sabotaging behavior. You don't know what it's like unless you've been there. Yeah. You know, so it's really intriguing. And I'm still researching today. I find new things every month, every year that the medical fraternity don't know about.
Well, I think it's so fascinating, because I think it's, you know, whether we're talking about something like heroin or meth or cocaine, like those are obviously like, okay, we understand if you're addicted to those, you know, you may or may not want help. But I think then there's a more slippery slope, a gray area of like Netflix or porn or gambling or food, you know, which this conversation could be just as applicable to individuals, guys that are listening, who may just feel like they're numb in their lives, but they're coping through something like that. So whether we're talking about the far end of the spectrum of hard drugs, right? Or you're going to the strip joint, you know, a couple times a week.
Same thing.
It's the root cause is the trauma, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people don't really know. It's the childhood. It's the trauma. Everybody has trauma, especially alcoholics. Every single person who's an alcoholic or addict has trauma, childhood trauma in their life, period. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to argue with you. That's the case. Over 30 years of studying the alcoholic brain, not just psychology on its own. I don't specialize in that. Specialize in the alcoholic brain. There's trauma. And from that trauma, will spell out the rest of your life if you don't, as we say, go back to the scene of the crime and clear that stuff up. Because when you look at anything as a child, you know, smacking the back of the legs, get down off that table, you're an idiot. No, you can't go to college. Dad's never there. You know, it's all trauma that carries out in everyday life today if you're not careful. Well, I keep attracting alcoholics. I hear off women all the time. Was your dad an alcoholic? Yeah. Really? Well, something has to change there, doesn't it? Because your aura, your energy is picking up somebody who you're trying to rescue again, and you wonder why it never works out. So unless you have the shift of neural pathways, neuroplasticity takes place, you're always going to result in the cycle that goes on and on and on until somebody dies.
Let's dive into the neuroplasticity conversation a little bit more. I mean, I get the general idea of it and having to unwire and, you know, form new neural pathways to success versus self-sabotage. But if we can make it even more applicable, what, you know, for men and women, of course, this is applicable to them. What is it? Yes, trauma, but then are they feeling like they're unworthy? Do they feel like they're not lovable? What are you finding as common beliefs in people who are addicts?
Well, a neural pathway is built when we learn something new or we hear something new. Yeah. So there are billions in the head. So the remapping, what I talk about is, if I'm brought up being told all the time that I'm an amazing, I can do anything I want, I'm great, you know, I'm really handsome and pretty, whatever the situations be, then I've got more self-care neural pathways and I have self-sabotage. Mm-hmm. Now with the alcoholic brain or people in general, they are picking up the damage in neural pathway because what they hear, you know, get down off the table, the stuff I just said, you know, you're a bad guy, you're not as good as your brother. That's another one I hear all the time. You don't really do anything with your life. Just get a part-time to work at, you know, a hamburger place because, hey, you can't go to college. I'm stupid. So the neural pathways are built every time we hear something new. Mm-hmm. So when I'm hearing all that stuff, it means my brain would rather self-sabotage because I want to fit in with mom and dad and, you know, I want to be like dad or whatever it may be, than healthy neural pathways. So we self-sabotage every single time. Now, we may start off having good intentions, like starting that job, getting that girl, but without work to reroute them neural pathways, you will all self-sabotage over a period of time, usually between 1 and 3 months. Yeah. You know, and the brain goes, oh, this feels more comfortable. This is my knee-jerk reaction to go, I'm not going to get a job. I'm ugly. I'm not worthy of that. And the truth is that it could be farther from the truth. So if somebody's out there listening to this right now who feels that way, feels as they're not worthy, not good enough, all this great stuff, I want to apologize to you guys because somebody's put that there. People are born with $1 million brains. Stop hanging around 2-cent brains. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You know, this is the stuff that we need to learn, that I am worthy. What's your ego, Rob? It isn't ego, it's confidence built up over 35, 40 years. There's no such thing as ego when you stood where I'm stood, in recovery, standing strong, shouting the things and asking the questions and telling other people stuff that these guys are only thinking about. I'm the mouth, I'm the aggressive one outside because someone needs to know this. There are hundreds of thousands of men dying each year because of something that they can't control, which is trauma, not feeling good enough. I've worked with everybody who's anybody, from major film stars to rock stars to movie stars. And I can tell you now, that I'm sat in the wings of a concert at Wembley Stadium with 100,000 people in it, with a guy crying because he didn't think he was worthy, and he's the main act. Mm-hmm. And this is what we don't understand. Oh, he looks very confident. Everyone's the same. They don't feel confident. You have to believe that you're confident.
Right. And so is that just positive thinking? Is it just affirmations? Is it something where if we just drill it in our head? I mean, I kind of feel like I know the answer to the question, but for those that are listening, is it just, yeah, are they just, if you just keep looking in the mirror and saying, I'm good enough, I'm pretty enough, will that actually work? Or is
we have to hear it back. We have to hear it back. What I do when people come here, either who wants to be somebody or has been and want to get back, I take them to the Porsche dealerships. I take them to the $1 million houses we walk around, because the brain then become accustomed to them things. So when he actually sits in the Porsche, because he will, when he works with me, it doesn't feel strange and oh my God, and I don't feel, it feels comfortable. So my brain goes, hey, this is pretty good. So we need to hear the reason why you know you're good, and the reason why I know we're good. It's not because we're good, it's because people tell us that we are good, and that's the only indicator that we are. And so I'm sat in the house many years ago with Gordon Ramsay, the chef off TV, and we're sat in his kitchen while he's making something to eat for us. And I'll never forget this. He said to me jokingly, hey, do you know why I'm the best chef in the world, Rob? And I went, because you can cook really well. And he said, blank, no, because I tell everybody I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So I actually have on my business cards, the best addictionologist in the world. It's like, I'm not taking any shit off anybody. This is the real deal, you know? So when you start acting this way, even if you've got $10 in the bank, act as if you've got 10,000. There's a movie out there. It'll come to me in a second, but it's about an overweight lady who bangs her head and then comes round and looks at herself in the mirror, and she's thin. So she starts acting as if she's thin, and she gets exactly what she wants. I feel pretty. Guys, I know it sounds like a chick flick. There's a message in there for every single person out there. Start acting as if the person you want to be, because I'm telling you, if you hang around with 9 depressed people, you will become the 10th. And if you hang around with 10 successful people, so it's all there for the taking. Oh yeah, Rob, I had a bad start in life. I'm like living in a rented, little hut. I started from homelessness. Are you kidding me? Life doesn't get any better than this where I am. I live in a perfect house, perfect car, perfect wife, perfect dogs, perfect career. Don't let anybody tell you can't do that. Stop putting the brakes on your imagination. Yeah. Oh, I daren't dream that. Well, if you're not dreaming it, the guy next to you is going to dream it and get it. There's no difference between somebody sat at home now miserable and the guy in the CEO running that multi-billion-dollar company. It's just that he can visualize it. And right now you can't right now, but you can if you really, really think about what life's all about, So let's say quantum physics. I love quantum physics. Let's say you're on a basketball court. Quantum physics tells me that I can be 25 places at the same time on that court, because nothing's really solid, Well, where would I want to be on that court if I can be at 25 places? I want to be near the goal. I want to be near the net. So I get the ball, slap it in the net, and boom, I'm the hero of the game. So I know what people are thinking. Well, how do I get there? You walk over and you take that position. You don't beg for it. You walk up because you've already visualized it. Have the balls to walk over and take it, because if you don't, somebody will. If not you, who? It's like, stop being afraid. Stop thinking that, the remap mind is going to control your life. It doesn't have to, guys. It really doesn't. And I'm speaking of 30 odd years of research and, 6,500 people of people I've worked with over that time period. And the end result is always the same. It's like you said before, Johnny, it's not the alcohol, it's not the drugs, not the sex. It's about me, how I think about me. How can you love anybody when you don't even love yourself? You think you do because you want to fit in. Oh, I love you. Do you know what that means? Do you know what I hate on the telephone, Johnny? All right, okay, bye, I love you, bye. Stop. That becomes a word that you just say. I love myself today. And because of that, I can love other people.
What's the process for, because I do have this conversation with so many men, and they're like, we boil it down to self-love, right? And they're like, yeah, I really don't love myself. If anything, I shame myself. I'm such a critic of myself. How do you get men and women, but men in this conversation particularly, to move towards acceptance, forgiveness, grace, compassion for themselves? Because they can't do it for anyone else unless they do it for themselves, right? So how do you move them down that road of compassion? Because I'm sure at some point you were very, very hard on yourself. Wondering how the hell did you get to where you were? How did you build yourself back up when you were hitting, ground zero?
Well, repetition strengthens and confirms with the brain. So the more you do something that you believe in, all my guys do what we call mirror work. And they're loading the subconscious brain with, I love you 10 times. I love you. I love you. So little things like that start making you into a champion. Make your bed in the morning, you know, go out, treat people well, compliment 3 people every day. If you walk into a room with a frown on your face, most people are going to frown back. That kind of idea, walking with a smile on your face, most people are going to smile back. And you start when you interact with people and start dialogue in the bus station, in the elevator, whatever, you'll start feeling real good about yourself. Obviously, eat healthy if you can. It's so expensive to eat healthily these days. And listen to people. When somebody says, nice t-shirt, don't just blow it off. Say thank you. It's so hard for men to say thank you. It's like, oh, Rob, nice sneakers. Ah, it's just something to throw on. Well, why have they got the price tag on the end of this? It's like, I couldn't say thank you. I always had to make an excuse up or something like that. It's like, we're in a new age. Yes, we're in a new age, and men need to start being men again. And I don't mean anything disrespect with anybody by saying that. I just think there's certain roles in this life that lacked for a period with men, you know, and I think we've lost our way a little bit. We know we should hear more of these people, and we should hear their opinions, guys that are stuck. And I hear it all the time. You know, you can literally be anybody you want in life. And people used to step back. Well, I can't be president. I beg to differ. We had a business around the country. I'm not going to get into politics. I'm not into it at all. But it shows you that you really can. And start believing in yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, be impeccable with your words. Stop taking things personally. And your life will take off. I'm telling you, it will take off. Because everyone has the same thought patterns throughout the day. You know, if you're happy with your lot, great. And most people are not. It's time to step forward, you know? And again, if you sat at home and going, well, I don't know where to start, I'm going to give my phone number out, my personal phone number. My manager goes, you're crazy. I'm going to give my personal cell phone out for the end of this session. If you want a 10-minute pep talk that will change your life, call me. I'll change your life in 10 minutes. I promise you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you refer to the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I think that's, if you're listening to this podcast and you have not read that, put it atop your list.
A must.
Yeah, it's a must. What I love too about something that I saw on when you were on the Doctors TV show, and this is something that I feel too. I feel like life isn't worth living unless you're having fun. And I feel like so much of quote unquote men's work, you know, or trauma work, whatever the case, whatever's getting in the way of us living our best and most fulfilled lives as men and as individuals and human beings, is that we don't have a whole lot of fulfillment and fun with it. So I'm always trying to sprinkle in, like, let's have fun with this without this being so heavy. How do you, when it comes to addiction and, man, people are ruining their lives through being out of control via their addiction, how do you make sure that you also have fun with it? So it's just not this like burdensome, heavy thing.
Well, first of all, our offices, we mainly work from home. When we had the offices, it was fun to come in that reception. Everyone would dress like really crazy. I would wear crazy colored scrubs, stupid sneakers. I'd play the guitar. When the first person walking through the door, it was the first time I'd play the guitar when he walked in. I'd be looking around going, what the hell's happening? You know, and then we'd take him in the room and we'd tell him, life is for living. Forget your alcohol problem, your depression, forget that. It's gone. It's gone from right now. If you tell somebody that powerful enough and with passion, the brain's going to go, huh? Even if 10% believes that, 10% is good enough, you know? And I give people hope. And that's one of the biggest things. Are we having fun yet? You know, people that's just come off the alcohol or drugs go to the first 12-step meeting and I'm there and I go, you having fun yet? And you go, no, life's terrible, but you've just walked in here. What was your last 50 minutes like? Oh, it was amazing. Great. So we can have fun in recovery. Listen, if you're not living your best life and laughing every day and have a great bunch of people and things around you, you're doing it wrong. You really are. I hear people all the time, I'm going to my therapist and well, it's okay. How long have you been going? 2 years. What? If you don't see a difference in day one, fire them and get somebody else. Come on. You know, if you look at an egg timer and you tip it upside down to start all over again, that's your life. You see, on the top of the egg timer, when the sand is here going down, we can't concentrate on that. You see the bottom part now? We have no control over that, you know, because there's your life going away every single day. I might have 20 summers left. 20 summers. That really, but when it's going through the egg time, there's this little bit when it really narrows down to a little bit. That's what we should be concentrating on. Forget this and forget that. We have no control. but we have tiny control there.
Yeah.
That's where we need to live. We need to know our life is amazing. We need to know where it's going, and we need to know that there's a time limit on this. So I ask the same question to every man that walks in here. If you were to die tonight, God bless you. If you, I know, I hope you don't, but if you did, what would you not having said to somebody or do? And they all say the same. I wish you'd have told my dad that I loved him, or mom or wife, and I wish I would have bought that boat. It's like today is the only day we've got. Forget about yesterday, can't control it. Forget about tomorrow. If we're thinking about tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow. You're taking the piece out of today. You know, things are never bad as you think it is. And I look my life as a movie. You know, what I want, I get. What everybody wants, they can get. But we need to snap out of this brain that's caused by, and we look at the churches and the other things that were, you know, the uncles that used to get molested by these guys. Them days have gone. You know, go back, clear that stuff up, and your greatest assets in moving forward is your past. When we look at it like that, it's unbelievable. And start talking to people. Nobody talks. I go into an elevator the other day. There's 12 people in the elevator, all looking different ways. I'm the guy that starts a conversation off all the time. And I know what they're thinking. Shut up. It's uncomfortable. I don't care. I'm going to start talking to you. How you doing? Good today. Oh, I'm doing fine. Yeah. Oh, good. What about you? What are you doing on this floor? You know, just when you start dialogue, you get dialogue back, and it makes you feel good. And when you say thank you to somebody, dopamine's released into your brain. Boom! Win-win all the time.
I do like the thought that you have of like going and complimenting 3 people a day.
Yeah.
And walking into rooms smiling. Because I found myself feeling insecure. So I'd walk into rooms, especially like bars where there's beautiful women, and I'd have this frown because I'm just trying to feel tough or confident. And then I realized when I started to just put a smile on my face, you know, as I'm telling myself a funny joke, women would smile back to me, men would smile back to me.
Always.
It's funny how that makes you feel more comfortable, more at ease, you know, versus putting on a mask.
Johnny,
right?
you must have got it. Somebody said something like, oh, Johnny, the thing you're doing is amazing. Whoa, that feels so good. Because other people, but that's what's talking before. We don't tell people. I was in my office about 2 years ago, and there was 2 nurses in the break room, and I was walking past, and one said, just started there, oh my God, did you see what Dr. Kelly just did? This guy was suicidal when he walked in. He walked out, he's whistling, he's skipping, he's saying, you know, and the other nurse said, yeah, I know. He said, he's amazing. He said, I know. Have you told him that? Oh, no. No. I mean, he already knows, but no. Tell people. Yeah. That's what makes people's day. You know, well, I don't want to tell him because he might get a big head. What? This is a chronic alcoholic that almost put a gun in his mouth and shot his son. This is the guy that lost his kids to alcoholism. I'm not going to get a big head, believe me, but everyone comes out with that stupid saying. It's like, tell people when they're good. When somebody makes you coffee at Starbucks, thank them. I love you're amazing. Thank you so much for what you do. First of all, you get the 4th cup free. That's a secret. But yeah, tell these guys and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%. Well, I'm curious, looking back on your own life, your own journey to where you are today. Is there anything? Well, even before I say that, I'll preface it. My father asked me the same question years ago, when we were kind of healing our own relationship, and he asked me, you know, what would you change if you could change one thing about your life? What would you change? And I'm curious to ask you the same thing. Would there be anything that you would change in your past?
If I wasn't in the work I was in now, I'd probably say, yeah, I didn't want to leave my kids. I stabbed my wife 3 times one night because she won't let me finish drinking. I wish I had done that. But with being because I've been chosen just like every other recovered alcoholic and addict to work with others. So that becomes an asset to me. It's my time on the streets and losing the kids and stabbing my wife and all that horrible stuff then becomes like a semester at Harvard in this industry. Now, if I wasn't, I'd change a bunch of things, man. I'd change the cheating. I'd change the not spending more time with my kids. You know, they were ages 1 and 3 when they took them off me. And the last thing the eldest one said 3 was, Daddy, please stop drinking. You know, and 6 months after that, I was homeless from this imagined house and brand new cars and, you know, practices and stuff like that. It's like, of course, but I have to say nothing. No, I won't change a thing right now.
Well, you went from CEO of a thriving telecommunications company, right? And
Yes.
and that all kind of crashed down. What happened? What were you experiencing in your drinking? I guess don't let me put words in your mouth, but obviously continue to get worse and worse. But what was it that you were drinking as a way to avoid, and how did all this kind of crash down on you?
I always felt like the imposter. So I have this imposter syndrome, even being on Here Day, you know, who wants to listen to me, blah, blah, blah. So I had that going on. I was miserable in my marriage. I was drinking heavily to get away from all that. Then I started day drinking. And then I made a few decisions in the boardroom that everybody fought against me, but I was drunk. So, you know, I made it happen, which we lost millions overnight and therefore went bankrupt. So it's going back to the childhood stuff that I was hiding from. You see, there's a lots of stuff in the past that I didn't know was childhood trauma. Like, for instance, I had to go to school in the snow with holes in my socks, cardboard in my shoes because they had holes in, and that become a norm for me. But somebody asked, because I said, can't you afford shoes? And I said, no, my mum and dad can't afford them. And they said, did they go to the bar every night? And I said, no, they only go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And my therapist said this, which blew my socks off. She says, does your mum and dad go to the bar with holes in their socks? I was like, started crying. I'm like, oh my God. And then all the memories come back, how they, you know, took me around to this babysitter's and everyone was naked. So I had to get in there. I was just like abuse after abuse after abuse. So I'm running from that because I've not done any work on this, by the way, now, because I'm still drinking. So it was a combination of all that no matter what happened at the end of the day, you know, it turned to crap. Over any considerable period, I will destroy something. And I was on the most money there. I drove the first IS200 Lexus off the line with the pop-up screen. I mean, I was the guy, but I was miserable, Johnny. Miserable. People used to say all the time, walking past the house, you know, used to tell me years later, we walked past your house, and we went, my God, he's living the dream. It was mayhem in that house. It was full of violence and, you know, abandonment and rejection and just me hating me all the time. And always trying to be perfect, but never could get there. And instant gratification for me isn't quick enough. I buy a brand new car on the way home, I'm thinking, I wonder if the other one was better. Maybe I better go and buy both. Which, and it's always not good enough. It's always not having enough. It's always today. I will always say to my wife, I'm scared if we go broke and I have to go back to being on the streets again. And so what happened is, and I'm telling you and you guys listen to this for a reason. It's not to brag. It's like, this is how my mind works. If we could just get $50,000 in our checking account, I would never worry about that again. So when we did, I thought, well, what if we had 100? Now 100 is the one that we need to do. So we've got all our savings, but so it's 100 grand in cash. And then I thought, what about 200? So I got $200,000 in my checking account. And then what if it got free? And it never stops.
Never stops.
I have more than they're insured for in my account right now, my daily account, my bank account, that I could walk in and the cash is there. But I'm so scared that one day this is all going to go away. So when you look at yourself like that, no one's perfect. Everyone's still working on themselves, you know. But my job today is to inspire and help you get that life that you've always yearned of. Because again, nobody can get their head around how easy this stuff is, Johnny.
Yeah. I think it takes an immense amount of courage. I mean, a lot of times it's just like the people that I've worked with over the last decade plus. It's like the solution can be simple to understand, but walking through that door sometimes can be the most difficult first few steps, you know. But I again just applaud you for the inner work that you've done, because I think that's the scariest part, especially for guys, you know, to acknowledge that they are an alcoholic or they are traumatized or they are, you know, but I'm not a fan of saying men are broken, that they need to be fixed. I don't like that underlying belief, but I do feel like we just need to shed some of these, you know, unhealthy habits. And I have noticed that men who are always seeking pleasure being outside of them, it never is enough, to your point. it's more women, it's more cars, it's more sex, it's more whatever. The happiness has to come from within, but then men don't really know what that shortcut is to get there. So obviously I can go buy a car, I can go make more money. That's clear with the how to, and men are often focusing that, how do I get from A to B? So I think the conversation that we're having about how to get back to self-love, how to get back to true happiness, that is a challenging conversation, but you say it's easy. How would you take someone, quote unquote, off the street, or someone that you don't know, who listens to this and says, you know what, fuck, I need help, man. Help me. What's the very first step? What's the process, 30,000 foot view of that process that you would take a guy through?
Well, get help straight away, get shelter straight away, of course, start dialogue with somebody, not even me. But if I was working with you, that's what I would do. Get shelter if they're on the streets, get them fed first of all, and then start them on this program, which is a 90-day program. And then while we're doing that, we're finding jobs, we're finding an apartment for him, we're getting his life back. I mean, we'll go to any lengths to make sure that you succeed in life. And I think we're kind of out the box a little bit and kind of frowned on by other treatment centers, because we have a 97% success rate and they don't believe that. But wow. This is not about the money. So I mean, for instance, we had a young kid with us. He was 18, 19, couldn't find a girlfriend. He drove a Mustang car. His dad was wealthy, could never find a girlfriend. So we talked to him for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, every session. We talked about his addiction and getting girls and how easy it is. So I hired an Irish pub in Dallas. Well, I didn't hire it. I made sure that certain tables were paid for so nobody could get there. And I planted really nice looking girls around. I paid them to be there. So there were 20 girls and the place had about 50 people in it. So there's a good chance when I turn around and go, hey, Johnny, pick a girl. And that's what we did. We went in and I said, look, it's this easy. And I said, look around, pick somebody that's just out of your league. And he said, the blonde girl over there. I thought, thank God, that's one of my girls. I said, come on, we'll go over. And he's grabbing hold of the bar. And I pulled him off. I said, look, I'm going to do the talking. Leave it alone. So we sit, say, can I join you? Can we join you for dinner? I'll pay for everything. And they go, oh my God, yeah. I've seen you on TV. And I'm like, yeah, of course you have, blah, blah, blah. But the girl next to this guy, I'm still going to call Johnny. She said to him, I might have to go, shortly because my Mustang is, you have a Mustang? Yeah, I have a Mustang. No way. So they get chatting. And at the end of the night, we come out and I said, see how easy it is. And 3 days later, he got himself a girlfriend. So no matter what measures need to be taken, I will take it. I will often take people, if you go missing, I will find you and I will handcuff you and I will bring you back because there's a life waiting out there. So it's kind of a all-in-one deal that we have to keep bettering this person. And if I sat here now, Johnny, and said, you're a waste of time, you fucking can't do this shit, you're a waste of time. If I told you every day, if I told you 20 times a day, you won't be doing this in a week's time. You go, no, if you tell people, and you can only do it to the people you believe, you can't lie about this. I've realized that. Then they become that person.
That's powerful. 100%. I agree with that. And I think that it does ultimately come down to, first and foremost, finding some sense of security and stability, and starting to right the ship, so to speak. But in this conversation, if we're one, I've been thinking we're speaking specifically to someone who's listening, who might have some addiction issues. Let's flip the script a little bit, because sometimes people who are the most addicted, they're not going to be the guys that are listening to a personal growth or self-improvement podcast. They're out doing their thing, looking for the next hit, right? So for those that are listening that maybe know of a family member or friend, sometimes we're the conduit towards healing.
Yes. Yes.
Give some advice to those people, because that can be super scary too, because we can all see it. And that person who's addicted thinks that they're pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. And we're all like, oh, fuck no, that guy's totally abusing, but we're scared to put ourselves out there to whatever. How would you, or what type of advice would you give to someone who has a loved one or a friend or a buddy who needs some support, but they don't know exactly how to approach that conversation.
Dialogue is always best, first of all.
Yeah.
Start to try that dialogue around that subject. 9 out of 10 times you're going to be pushed out. Don't be stupid, blah, blah, blah. Then leave, subtle things around the house if you can. 12-step number, a book, my business card or anyone's business card, stuff like that. And just keep talking to them, but don't get on the nerves. And then if everything else fails, there's always an intervention you can work out. But we find with families, because it's a family disease, Johnny, everyone forgets this. It's like the alcoholic in the house, if there's mom and dad, son and daughter, and dad is the alcoholic, then mom and dad, son and daughter need treatment. And the way we look at this, it's like recovery has its own language. So if we're taking people out of a house, let's say, that speaks Japanese, and we take them away and stick them in a treatment center that speaks French, for instance, after it finished, we stick them back in the house that speaks Japanese. They're going to start speaking Japanese. So the whole family can have an effect on one person by just being loving and kind, and it will get bad enough. Check the bedrooms, check the pockets, check all the crazy places, and see if there is alcohol or drugs in excess. Because especially people at college, they go for a crazy time. I know when I went, drinking and using all the time, most 99% of people I know come through that and have an amazing jobs. So there's a fine line. But once you cross that fine line, action needs to be taken, and just start with dialogue, And listen, when I give my phone number out, you can always call me. I'm not going to try and sell you anything. We're not in this for the money, but we will give you some great advice about what you can do. If it's a mom or dad, it's different. If it's a brother or wife or husband, there's kind of different ways you can approach it. But, don't leave it, guys. This is a warning. Don't leave it as think, oh, it's going to go away. He's drinking every day. It should stop. It will not stop. If he doesn't get treatment, he will die. Because people say to me now, well, there was alcoholism in the family. Did you tell your kids? No, they were too young. They were only like 9 and 10. Yeah, if I'd have told you it was alcoholism in my family, I might have turned out a little different, because everyone's scared to talk about. Information is powerful in any game, powerful. Start having that conversation with your kids. If granddad was a chronic alcoholic, you need to tell your kids that there's alcoholism in the family or addiction in the family. And you'd be surprised the ages of 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, how that information sticks. And in future, they will often come to you and go, hey, I think I have a problem. But again, going back to dialogue, don't be afraid to speak to kids, husband, wives. Just don't be afraid to do it. Oh, I don't want to bring the subject up. Would you rather bring the subject up or go to his funeral? Choice is yours. But it gets that desperate. I've seen too many people die. Yeah. I've seen so many miracles in the recovery, but I've seen so many people die because of lack of information or dialogue. So that's what I would say first. And listen, have fun with this. If there's somebody here who doesn't want treatment, doesn't want help, hey, listen, I've talked to this guy or this center or something. They're crazy, just like you. Why don't you have a conversation with them real quick? Anything that makes it lighter is better, and don't get too serious about it, because people, when you get serious about it, alcoholics and addicts will shy away from that. They don't want the light shined on them when they're drinking, using, or depressed. So bring it round very cleverly. That's all I can say. But start dialogue straight away, guys.
Yeah, because if they are running from pain, if they're using to avoid pain, just to get the instant gratification or that pleasure, then coming up with a heavy conversation, they're going to move away from that. That pain as well, right? It's just naturally what we as human beings do. You
have to chip away at this stuff. Chip away with little, we're going through a girl now down in Houston. The husband's going through some stuff, and we're chipping away. It's been going on for 4 months. We're chipping away, and he's drinking every day, and like he's lost his job, and the house is going, and all this amazing stuff. But we're chipping away because he's a hard ass and he doesn't want help. So unless the person needs help, it's going to take a few months to get him round. But yeah, let's get involved with this stuff, guys. Even depression is a killer. And it's amazing when I go back and when we did some research, and it's just depression, they'll pull out of it, a little bit down, don't worry. Oh my God, when I was working back in the day, 9 to 5, and I had depression, I would miss days off work. I tried to commit suicide about 6 times on the streets, and on 2 occasions it worked. My heart stopped and I almost bled out, but they saved me, and I was really pissed off with them guys for a long time. You see, the position you are in now is temporary. I don't give a shit if you're the highest paid footballer. No, it's temporary. I don't care if you're on the streets and living in a halfway home. It's temporary. You know, go forward. Life will, I guarantee this. Otherwise, I'm going to give you my Mercedes McLaren outside. You can have it. I'll send the keys to you. I'm being very, very serious. If you seek help, you can't do this on your own, and you move forward, your life will get better every single time. And that's the hope we need to give to our people out there, is this is not permanent.
I think that's a huge realization, because we do feel like it's permanent, or the economy is a certain way, it's going great, or, you know, this pandemic is going on. We feel like whatever we're in, the current situation is going to be permanent, and that's the sky's falling in different ways, you know?
Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people say that, Johnny, to me.
Yeah.
Guys that are successful, guys that are on the streets, it all ends in doom and gloom. Well, guess what? What if it doesn't? You know, what if it doesn't? What if you are successful? What if you are the best road sweeper in Dallas, or the best CEO? What if? You know, the thought patterns, again, the more thought patterns you have positive, the more chance it will come true. I remember speaking to Arnold Schwarzenegger way back in the day, 78, 79. He came to England. I was a bodybuilder at the time, so we were nominated to pick him up, and real broken English, not even what you hear now. But I remember having a conversation with him in the hotel room. And I said, well, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't keep bodybuilding the rest of your life, and he's not really profitable. So he sat me down. He said, it's all about your mind. How bad do you want this, Rob? And I said, well, give me some instances. He said, well, I will become the highest paid film actor in the world. And we're like, you can't even fucking speak English. It's just not going to happen. So he said, no, I said, what's next? He said, I want to become a governor of a state, preferably California, because I love California. And we're like, well, okay, that's stupid, but what next? And he said, and this was the one, Johnny, this was the one. And we fell off our chair. He said, I'm going to marry into the Kennedy family.
Yeah. We
was like, okay. So we went through the days and we lost contact and everything. And holy moly, that's the power of thought. Always you got to remember yourself, guys, when you're listening to this at home, is how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be happy every single day? How bad? Because I wanted it really bad, and I got what I deserved, and you can get what you deserve. I don't care what your past is, what you've done, how many times you've been in jail, how many times you've beat somebody, whatever it is, your future is going to be amazing as long as you get this thought pattern process that the best days of your life lie ahead of you, not behind you, lie ahead of you. And you can change every single day that you get up, and you watch your life take off. The communication, the smiling, the complimenting people, the accepting compliments, the doing the right thing, buying the 4 agreements will change your life. Believe me. And start living that life. And call me up. Dr. Robb, on a 10-minute pep talk. Bang! You won't be the same fucking person when you get off the phone from me. I can guarantee you. And you can move forward, because if I can do it, anybody, I wish I could sit here, Johnny, and go, listen, I'm really intelligent. I'm not. This shit just happens, what the universe does. You know, you get back out of life what you give. Today is not about you can take everything off me, Johnny, and stick me in my tent with my wife in this tent, my 3 English bulldogs and my 2 cats, and I'll be happy today as I was ever happy. You know, it's material things. They don't last. It's stuff around you. It's working with other people. It's making somebody's day. It's watching parents come into the office and go, oh my God, Dr. Robb, you saved my son's life. It's stuff like that I live for. And we give money away like crazy. I spend time talking to vets and talking on trauma free. Everything's free that we do. If we buy a fridge and 6 months later she's seen a new one, we give that fridge away. We don't sell it. We go, hey, who out there is struggling, just moved into an apartment? Here's a fridge. Oh, by the way, when you come around, take the sofa or buy another one. Don't worry. That's what life's about. And it so encourages people and pumps people up. And then they go out and do the same to somebody else. So their dopamine's flying in their head. And we get this chain moving down the line that's just amazing. It's unstoppable. You know, depression, when it comes on, guys, it's like, whoa, that's it, for no reason. Life can be swung around like that for no reason, you know? Just stop daring to dream. Stop daring that. It can't be me. And stop doing that. Start saying it is you and move forward. And if you want to get your kids back, you can get them back. Well, shit, that bitch is never speaking to me again. It makes no difference. When we do the right thing, the right things happen. There's a code to this deal, guys. And it's do A and B and C will follow every single time. You can't, it's not as if you're not, whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. People are going to like you and your life's become amazing and the kids will come back. So let me tell you real quick. My youngest one I've never seen, Johnny. She was 1 year old. This was 30 odd years ago. Never seen her. My eldest daughter, 4 years ago only, never seen her since, was messaging me on Facebook. Said, I want to see your dad. I've seen you on TV. You do amazing things. We went over to meet her. When we stood on the door crying and held each other for the first time in 20 odd years, she took me to the living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. Now that sounds pretty good on its own, but there's more. She said, I want to go to college, Dad. This is after 6 or 7 trips over there to do what you do. So we sent her back to college to become an NLP therapist. 3 months ago, she opened my Manchester office of Robb Kelly Recovery Group, and she's my primary therapist over there.
That's awesome.
Always happens if you do the right thing, always. My youngest daughter will come around soon because that's what it's all about. And this is from just, I used to walk in the room, Johnny. I used to walk in all crouched down with my head down. And I used to think, I hope somebody likes me in here today. I walk in the room now with my head held high and go, how many people do I like in here today? That's the difference. You are that guy. You are that guy. If you're listening to this, guys, you are that guy. You can do this.
I love that because again, in wrapping things up here, it's the applicable steps of the small little things men can do just to get started. I always say you have to first heal whatever is in the way of your greatness. Then from there, can you get clear about your purpose in life? Your calling. And then from there, can you really focus on what's most important? I think where the juice of life is, which is all your relationships.
Yes.
Your relationships with yourself and with your creator, with Mother Nature, with your friends and your family, your spouse, your kids, all those things. But you can't even get to the good stuff if you're being blocked by your trauma and your pain, your woundings, right? So I feel like you have to get through that stuff. Otherwise, you cannot have your head held high. You can't work through
definitely not.
Things. So,
and believe me, guys, there was no one more than me, head held low and sat in the gutter on many nights, Christmas Eve, eating a can of beans that I found off the side of the street. You can do this. You just need to go back to the scene of the crime and you need to clear all that stuff up with somebody. You cannot do it on your own. You can't be your own judge of this trauma. It doesn't work.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's absolutely true because I think the imposter syndrome is like, oh, well, I'm going to fake it until I eventually make it. And then I'm going to be good, which is, I think, a fallacy. You have to do the work. You have to be courageous enough and vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what? Help me. I'm not going to be able to do this on my own. And then from there, the snowball rolls in a good way, right?
Well, that's why I like doing what I do now, especially these podcasts, because I'm the ex-bodybuilder. I'm the ex-fighter. I'm the dude you're not going to fuck with. Even now at the age of 60, you're not going to fuck with me. Yeah. I'm too big. I'm too in your face. I'm too strong. But what I'm saying to other guys is be vulnerable. I'm setting the path here. Be vulnerable to go and say something to these guys. We need to talk. We can't just sit at home going through all this shit. It will kill you. Biggest killer in the world, cancer? No. Alcoholism? No. Stress and trauma? Yeah. Because we keep all that stuff in and it destroys us. It's like a cancer eating. It gets worse every single day. Yep. And it's a shame because anybody can do this shit. Anybody.
Yep.
You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be anything. You can just want a better life. Be the best person you can be today. Compliment 3 people, act accordingly, dress accordingly, and speak accordingly. You watch your life change.
It's interesting too, because I've gone to a couple of Dr. Joe Dispenza's retreats, and his whole quantum physics and neuroplasticity conversation is about the higher the frequency of thought that you're having, love and gratitude, there's more organization there. The lower you go towards depression, the sadness and overwhelm and frustration, the lower the order, and that's where dis-ease is created in the body. And it's just like, oh, that makes so much sense.
So much sense.
Yeah, it's easier said than done sometimes when you're in the funk, but I think that's why you need to rely on your brothers, or pick up the phone and and call you or reach out to someone who can help you. You don't have to know how to get there. You just literally have to just say, hey, help
Dialogue.
me.
Yeah.
Dialogue, right?
Yeah.
How do they get in touch with you? What's the next step if someone's like, you know what? And it sounds like you work with not only people who need help, but also maybe loved ones who are trying to get to someone who's not yet open to the idea of that.
Loved
too,
ones, right? Addicts, alcoholics, depressed people, bipolar, relationships, whatever it is in your life you're going through, hit the website. That's robbkelly.com. Yeah. I spell my name with 2 B's, ROBBKELLY.com. Search in any search engine, Dr. Robb Kelly. You'll see tons of stuff there. Yeah. But also, if you have a bit of time, jump onto Amazon or go into Walmart. I have a book out. And the reason why I mention this is not to sell a book. I don't give a shit about it. I've never even seen a dime from that book. Every single dime spent on that book, and I think it's $9, go back into the community. We take nothing from that book. And the book is called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, which was the lastest thing my daughter said to me before she came back in my life. So go on and have a read. If you don't like it, let me know. I'll refund you. But yeah, just do all that, guys, and you'll see me. I'm also going to give you my personal phone number. This is this phone here, for those who can see. It's not my assistant. It's not the desk. It's me personally. So if you call and I don't answer, I'm in session, text or we'll call you back. So it's 214-600-0210. If you call me and want a 10-minute talk, just do that. I will do that gladly. I'm never going to try and sell you shit. Because that's the kind of guys we are, but I will change your life in 10 minutes. I guarantee I will.
Thank you so much for sharing your gifts. And I think what resonates for me is, to see someone such as yourself, to have the vulnerability and transparency, saying like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not the sharpest tool, but you've worked through your shit. And now you've turned your legacy into a life of giving.
Yes.
And truly leaving your mark on this one and beautiful life by way of just having empathy and compassion for those that are walking a similar path that you were on years ago. So regardless, thank you so much.
My
really
pleasure.
Is
absolutely my pleasure to be on. It's so good to be on these podcasts, especially yours, and you go back and you do the background of who you are, because Courtney calls me up and she might send one or two. We go on really good ones, then we go on someone that's got like 2 followers to give back. But when she calls, and she did this with you, she went, hey, Johnny King, next blah, 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 make sure you're on it. And I'm like, yeah, but you're doing it. He's an amazing guy. Do it. So then I get to research it today and I go, oh my God, he is an amazing guy. So listen, thank you, Johnny, for what you do, by the way, because nobody ever tells anybody. I'm telling you now. I want to recognize you for being who you are, standing there, which can be a lonely place, Johnny, as we both know, when you fight in this cause. Well, thank you for being there. You are saving hundreds of thousands of lives with the ripple effect, and you don't even know it. So thank you so much, man. You're a superstar.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate it. I mean, it means a lot, because even yesterday was a really tough day for me, and I'm questioning why I'm doing anything, and is it even worth it? So that little vote of confidence means the world to me. So thank you.
You got my phone number, Johnny. You get that shit again. You call me 5 minutes, boom, we'll get back on track. No problems.
Yeah. Thank you. But it goes to show we all have our down days. We all have our struggles. Just because we're on podcasts or on video doesn't mean we have all our shit together. We're all human beings. Exactly. And we all go through
if you
stuff.
Think we have our shit together, follow us home.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow us home and you'll
100%.
see that, shit still happens in this house.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, thank you again, Robb, and guys, again, pick up his book, check out Robb Kelly, ROBBKELLY.com. Text him, call him. If you are struggling, or if you have a loved one that's really struggling, there's a reason why you're listening to this podcast. And I truly believe this is the call to action is for you to get into action and potentially save a life. So Dr. Robb, thank you again. Appreciate you so much. And guys, we'll catch up with you soon. All the best.
Bye-bye.